Yo, what is up YouTube? It is your boy Young Fro, welcoming y'all back yet again to another video, and today we are reacting to the ultimate Mdickie Iceberg Explained. How deep does it go? This should be a very interesting video. I've never really looked at the Mdickie Iceberg. I really don't know nothing about it for real, so we're about to see what type of topics and stuff they get into in this video. Check out the original creator down in the pinned comment section below, and this video is an hour long. So this thing probably it must go deep, bro. There's gonna be a lot of stuff I don't know about Mdickie that y'all probably didn't know either, man. So hey, you might want to grab some popcorn, get some eats, whatever, man. This about to be a long video, man. Anyways, let's get right on to it. Since it is an hour long, so let's play. All right.
Indie developer and a one-man army, none other than Mdickie himself. If you're unfamiliar with this legend, he's known for creating weird,
oh yeah,
but entertaining games like Hard Time, Wrestling Revolution, and its 3D counterpart, The New Testament, and many others I won't bother listing.
All go-to games.
His most notable work, as it's the game I mainly know him from. It gained widespread attention thanks to popular YouTubers at the time, such as Jacksepticeye and PewDiePie, who helped introduce it to a larger audience.
Oh yeah, Hard Time was really what's got him mainstream, the first one.
Related to Mdickie, from the well-known to the lesser-known, in the form of an iceberg. Now, if you don't know what an iceberg is, or even a real YouTube watcher, essentially an iceberg chart organizes topics from the most commonly known at the top to the most obscure ones at the bottom. As you move down the iceberg, the topics become increasingly mysterious and lesser known. Of course, like every other traditional iceberg, it will be split into sections starting from the top and working our way down. I will be strictly following each topic based on the most up-to-date iceberg I could find, so this is in no particular order other than how it's listed. I'll also add a health bar on the bottom left showing off how much I know about each topic. If the health bar is full, I know as much as possible about the topic. If it's completely empty, I know little or nothing about it. One more thing, I want to give a huge thank you to Reddit user OneIdioticIdiot/YouTube Telemon for providing this iceberg and a lot of clarification on, as well as for sharing.
I think that's crazy. I think Telemon actually watches the channel. Hey Telemon, if you're watching this, bro, hey, shout out to you, bro, for making an iceberg.
Related to him.
Or I don't know if you made it, but
for the good shit,
bring that to his attention. All right, now we just got above the iceberg stuff. We just got tier 1, general facts and dumb stuff.
Revolution Trilogy. This most likely refers to Mdickie's 3 wrestling games that have Revolution in the title. Wrestling Revolution, Booking Revolution, and Wrestling Revolution 3D. 2 of these 3 are his most popular games. These games honestly laid the foundation of his legacy in wrestling-themed video games.
Yeah, for sure.
Loyal fan base. Mdickie in his own games. Bro just likes to put himself in his own games for real. He appears in literally all of his
we never really realize it, but I guess it is kind of funny that he is in his own games.
Empire, he's a promoter for wrestlers. In Hard Time, he's either a civilian or a prisoner, depending how you play. And then there's the Mdickie show, of course. Those are just 3 examples of the long list of game season. Original characters. If you're an Mdickie enjoyer, you should know that Mr. Dickey has...
I know he has a couple original. I know Whack Axe, Whack Oz, Geno White, Krampus Christmas, Scally, Mike Bell, Sergeant Acer, what goes on? I know a lot of them. I know a lot of them, bruh.
Has a variety of characters in his roster, ranging from parodies of real people or fictional mainstream characters, such as Barry Rock, Barack Obama, and Jimmy Sierra, John Cena. But he also has his own original characters, with his most notable ones being himself, Boomtown, Yap Massacre.
Oh yeah, Boomtown and Yap.
Interestingly enough, Matt has 2 favorite characters, Whack Axe and Geno White. Whack Axe.
Wait, that's crazy. Geno White is actually one of his second favorite characters. I never knew that. That's actually so cool.
Was apparently made by mistake, kind of like the creeper from Minecraft. Geno White, on the other hand, came from a submission a kid made back in 2001. Mixed reviews. Okay, so Mdickie game.
Kid made that back in came up with the name Geno White back in 2001, bro. That kid probably got a whole family now. No, definitely has a whole family now, bro. That is crazy.
Often get a lot of criticism, mainly because of their rough graphics and clunky mechanics, and because they're not your traditional AAA game. On the other hand, you have people who genuinely enjoy his game, which are the people who know how to appreciate a good game. I personally think everyone who hates on his games are a bunch of jackasses. His work is all...
I mean, people got entitled to their own opinion. I don't think they gotta like it if they don't like it.
End of the 2D era. As we all know, Mdickie has a plethora of 2D mobile games.
Oh, I just realized he got YouTubers clips in here.
From around 2012.
That's my guy, Mikey. I wonder mine here.
Installment. Hello, editor here. This entry could also be referring to during Matt's early development days when he was making 2D games in 2000 to 2003, which is when he completely shifted over to 3D. He also retired in 2009 to 2011 to become an educator, then he unretired and reinvented himself as a 2D mobile game developer. Just to add more context. This is probably how many of us discovered his work and got the chance to play his games. Personally, I played his 2D games, enjoyed them, and have been a fan of him ever since. His entry refers to Mdickie completely ending his development of 2D games and fully embracing 3D development. I'm pretty sure he's even mentioned in interviews that he initially thought he'd only make 2D games. I'm glad that mindset changed because his 3D games are clearly an improvement. Early 3D games. Matt has been in the game development space for a super long time. I'm pretty sure he was doing this shit even before I was born. Bro's just experienced like that. He knows what he's doing. Anyways,
he really has been doing it since I was even born, bro.
3D games, which he made between 2001 and 2012, where he retired and reinvented himself as a mobile game developer. During his early 3D games run, he made a whole bunch of games, but I won't be listing them here since there's a lot. Wrestling Empire on Switch. Yeah, so this is probably one of Matt's biggest milestones, being able to release one of his games on such a huge gaming console, the Switch. Good for bro. Also, if you know, you know, there was this console that fell big time called the Ouya.
Yeah, the Ouya. I remember his games was on the Ouya.
One of his games, Wrestling Revolution 2. He mentioned that the Ouya surpassed his performance needs. I guess he liked it. Interesting, right? Matt will never work with big companies. Well,
oh yeah, definitely never happening.
Matt has said himself that he likes the creative freedoms that comes with being an independent developer. He also takes pride in being a self-taught game dev. In the past, he has worked with companies and it was a bad experience for him. I mean, shit, bigger companies would try and take advantage of blood, so yeah, I honestly agree with his views on this. Pretty cool. Free publicity from YouTube critics. You've heard the term bad publicity is good publicity. Well, that's what Matt believes in. He loves any type of publicity from critics. In this case, YouTubers. No matter how much critique they give, it's always a good publicity. Political figures and games. The majority of Mdickie games feature parodies of real fictional people, and that also includes politicians. Yes, parodies.
They literally everywhere.
Donald Trump as Wally Stacks, and as mentioned before, Barack Obama as Barry Rock. Mods. Every single game has...
Oh, snap, I made it. Wait a minute. Wait, I actually made it, bro. I made it into the video. That's crazy, bro. That is actually crazy, dog. Dang, bro. Back when your boy actually had hair, man. Holy. Wow. I'm actually in the vid, bro. That's crazy. Hey, shout out to bro, man. I did not think I was.
At first, the modding community was just your traditional mods like reskins or overhauling the entire games, which Matt would approve of. Then it kind of went downhill with people modding his games and being able to play the premium version of his games for free, essentially stealing them. I'll talk about it more later in the video. Sometimes there's some weird ass mods too. I don't know. I've never played any of the mods. Religious criticism. There are two games that I know of that involve a lot of religion. The New Testament.
Yeah, the New Testament.
Both
I never heard of that last game.
Criticism from Christians and Muslims. Although the making of a prophet wasn't as well known as the New Testament, it still received a lot of criticism for its depiction of Muhammad. The game ultimately got taken down from Matt's official website, but you can still play it from other sources, so it's not completely lost.
Dang, I never knew that. I might have to try to play that game.
Mdickie's just chill like that. He interacts with his fans a very decent amount over the years. He's been known to directly interact with fans, answering questions or even addressing criticisms on social media and forums.
I will say though, sometimes he does go too deep, bro. Like he does get too like into their criticism, and it can completely throw him off. Like you all know, especially lately, he's been crashing out lately, bro. So yeah, sometimes though, too much interaction is not good.
Answers your emails if you send him one. This just solidifies how chill he is. He's even mentioned in interviews that longtime fans from like 20 years ago are now showing their kids all the Mdickie games, especially since one of his installments is on the Switch. We will never get an online game.
Unfortunately, sadly.
The most notable one I can think of being Wrestling Empire on the Switch, which uses local multiplayer. When it comes down to the online features, I'm pretty sure Matt simply won't add any type of online mode whatsoever since he's more focused on the single player side of his development. He also mentioned that he doesn't know much about online multiplayer because he himself doesn't play those type of games. Matt has tried in the past to add online to one of his games, Wrestling Empire Remix in 2011. He had two computers sharing basic information but nothing playable since his games weren't built for multiplayer from the start. That's honestly about it. Unnecessary question marks. This could also fall under spelling mistakes since Matt would just add random question marks to his text, even when they aren't questions. I couldn't find an example of this though. $300 Amazon listing. There's literally a book called Sports Reality listed on Amazon for like
There's a Mdickie book?
$39. I don't know why, but
for $440. Yo. Dang, I guess Matt would just chill like that, bro. Dang, Matt was just chill like that, huh?
It's
Wow.
probably because this is a one-of-a-kind book that was not mass-produced, or it's probably from a third-party seller who marked up the price a ridiculous amount. All I know is that this was written by the Big Dickie himself. Matt is proud of his last name, Dickie. He has.
I wonder, is that actually his last name?
Get it? Dick, penis. He said his name is like his very own war scar and is proud of his last name. He's the only one who can bear such a silly last name as this one. Matt ends his paragraphs with ... Matt literally ends his paragraphs with ...
I have seen that a
You can go
lot.
to his official website and find some examples there. They're very prevalent. Also, using the Wayback Machine, you can see he even did this during his earlier stages of his careers in the early 2000s. Some stuff just doesn't change. He was asked about this and his answer was, "I'm always looking for the future." Spelling mistakes. There are spelling errors in Mdickie's games and on his website during his early days. He was infamous for this at the time. This most likely happened because he's a solo developer. Jesus Transfiguration.
What does that
There's
mean?
a clip on Mdickie's YouTube channel of the New Testament where Jesus shows the player that he has the ability to see all the polygons and whatnot. This is more of
that's
a
cool.
fourth wall break with Mdickie Jesus knowing that they're just in a video game and that's just how the world of the New Testament actually looks like, which makes sense. Honestly, it's kind of creepy if you ask me, for real.
I think that's kind of cool. Okay, now we got On the Iceberg. Tier 2 is history.
Spirituality. Going back to the $300 listing on Amazon. Apparently this book is rare since not a lot of copies were made. Resellers essentially upscaled the price a lot. Anyways, this book basically talks about the cultural impact of sports, personal growth, and spiritual perspectives through the lens of athletic competition. Matt wrote the book himself. That's about it. The Warzone. So the Warzone was an old popular wrestling website that featured different types of info about the WWF. News, previews, wallpapers, wrestling terms, and dates of upcoming matches. Matt used this website to upload his earlier games at the time to garner attention since he knows the site literally had everything a wrestling fan could want except for games. He immediately hopped on this opportunity to promote his work, which actually boosted him a large amount. This
That's
is one
actually
of the
was very
catalysts
smart.
that kept him making games to this day. People were so interested in his work that he eventually made his own website. Thank you, The Warzone. The owner of The Warzone was too busy to keep running the site because they were already attending a university. Ultimately, the site is now completely gone, so you can't look it up. However, I do have the old URL, which you can put into the Wayback Machine if you want to have a look for yourself. Seems the site was up from 1999 to 2001. United Kingdom Wrestling removed from Empire. This was another wrestling promotion featured in Wrestling Empire that was ultimately removed from the game. This was likely due to copyright reasons or to make room for other content. However, this promotion does appear in prior wrestling games Matt made in the past.
I never realized that United Kingdom was not in Wrestling Empire. What in the world? How am I just now realizing that, bro? I've been playing Wrestling Empire for like 5 years. That's crazy.
Mdickie@line1.net. Yeah, this is just Matt's old email. It probably still works. It actually appears during his early website days too. Cool. Android hate. Matt doesn't literally hate Android. It's more of a love-hate relationship since it's where his biggest player base is located, but also where his games get pirated the most.
Yeah,
it's easier on
sure.
Android to get cracked versions of the game without playing. Not gonna lie, I used to do this when I was legit. But now I pay for them like a responsible adult.
I was the same way, bro. I was the same exact way.
I found an article from when Wrestling Revolution first debuted. Back then, he was hitting on iOS, stating, "Performance on iOS was a fraction of what it would have been on the Android equivalent. It's worrying because iOS makes up a good 60% of my business, so I've got this platform that's bad for me creatively, but essential to me financially." This is an old article from like 2014. Since then, his opinion about Android has changed a lot. Makes sense why iOS makes him more money. Galleries. This was a feature of Matt's earlier versions of his website that included sneak peeks of upcoming games, sketches, character models, wrestling moves, etc.
Correction, galleries was used by Matt to showcase fan-made games, art, or just other people's creations. He would also showcase fan-made graphics of his games or mods that Mdickie liked.
This ultimately got scrapped, having a very short lifespan. Programming can fuck off. This iconic quote reflects Matt's frustration with coding. He describes it as a necessary evil that basically blocks his creativity. Despite his distaste for coding, he still learned it to make his games. If you're wondering, yes, he did say that programming can fuck off. He shared his opinion on his own website in a Q&A stating, "Programming is a scientific factor that crushes the spirit and scares away talented visionaries." Shock FM interview. On December 12, 2000, during Matt's Salford University days, he gave an interview on his student radio station called Shock FM. During this interview, he spoke about his inspirations and the philosophy driving his approach to game development. This is the entire interview on the screen. I will provide a link if you want to have a look for yourself. Dark Basic. Dark Basic is a programming language Mdickie used earlier in his career. Before Basic was dark, he was simply just too inexperienced to use it, so his games were strictly 2D in the earlier days. Of course, he became more infatuated with its 3D counterpart, Dark Basic. He stated that he was going to learn a new language, it would be Dark Basic because it would be most rewarding. The first time he used this new programming tool, he had already developed models with animations and a smooth camera system. This got him hooked on what could be achieved with the new language. Championship belt over cash prize. Matt loves wrestling so much that he would take a championship belt over a cash prize, which is funny because he's actually done this before. In February 2001, he was offered money or an exact replica of the WCW United States Championship belt for promoting a merchandise website in his game, Big Bumps. Of course, he chose the belt as you can see here. He claimed that money is only temporary. He's just a chill guy who low-key don't be giving a fuck. Matt Imposter informs. So individuals will pretend to be Mdickie and take credit for his games or spread false information, which is surprising because I've never heard of anyone on the internet spreading misinformation in my life. He addressed the situation by saying, "No, I haven't been visiting any forums of any kind. Anybody that writes under my name is an imposter." Thanks for pointing that. The Curse of August. This is an interesting one. This is basically all of Matt's up and downs in his career throughout the years, and comically they all happened during the month of August, which is why it's called The Curse of August. Let me break it down for you.
In the realm of the electronic.
Alright, for real this time.
Alright, it's Benson going crazy.
I'm yapping up a storm in this one. Skip to this time step if you ain't trying to hear all that. August 2000. This month marked the beginning of Mdickie's development journey. He discovered the IV Studio, which allowed him to move from text-based games to graphical ones. His first wrestling game was a hit, downloaded 15,000 times within 24 hours.
Dang.
And this established Mdickie as a good game developer. August would later become a difficult anniversary for the upcoming years. August 2001, Creative Limbo. DIV Game Studios reached its limit, forcing Matt to explore new programming tools like Blitz and Dark Basic. Bro was struggling to master these tools, leaving him in a creative rut with no major projects completed. Fans grew skeptical of his ability due to the lack of updates. His creativity resumed only after Blitz introduced new features later that year. August 2002, Catch-22 situation. Matt was working on two promising projects simultaneously, his first 3D game and a 2D wrestling simulator. Just before the completion, his monitor burned out, halting progress. He couldn't earn any money to fix the situation without finishing the games. He managed to buy a cheap second-hand monitor with the little money he had left, allowing him to release the games in time before Christmas. August 2003, the Mdickie No-Show. Federation Wrestling sequel Federation Booker faced publisher mishandling, forcing Matt to self-publish. His laptop froze while working on the Mdickie show, leading to data loss and delays. Despite setbacks, the game engine became the foundation for Wrestling Empire. August 2004, Fade to Black. Matt's laptop screen burned out after a year.
Dang, this man, his technology stayed failing him, dog.
Reception due to high expectations. Despite this, the project laid the groundwork for future successes. August 2005, Rotten to the Encore. Matt's laptop screen failed again, forcing him to buy a new computer.
Oh my
Things got worse when the company he ordered from went out of business, leaving him without a computer or his money. Profits from his Tour of Duty compilation eventually funded a new laptop, but his work and website suffered a popularity dip. Conclusion. Matt views these setbacks as a necessary part of growth, emphasizing resilience and determination. Also, I did summarize the entire situation, so if you want the long-ass details, I'll provide a link to a full forum Matt wrote about this. The infamous mobile fiasco. This ties back to the Android hate entry. According to Matt and the Iceberg description, this started in late 2018 when some of Matt's quote-unquote fans emailed him asking why the premium version of his games was already downloaded. They admitted to using a trusted third-party source for a cracked version of his game with premium unlocked. Obviously, this made Matt upset. What I'm referring to is this video that's playing in the background now. This person specifically asked Matt some questions where Mdickie stated that he was already retired. The rest of the video is just this person justifying why people download cracked version of Matt's games, which is unfair to Matt, of course. According to Matt, one fan even asked how to quote-unquote support him while playing a cracked version of his game.
That's crazy.
Spiral from Matt about losing money due to modders, particularly Android users. Reportedly, Matt even made a video considering pulling his games from mobile together. However, that video is lost. The fallout included Matt canceling planned projects like a Red Dead style cowboy sim, a G.I. Joe inspired military sim, and a space exploration sim. He also dropped 2D game development earlier than intended. Matt had a mod section on his website for his games, but he ultimately got rid of it because of the modding issues going on. He completely retired from the game development because of this.
I do remember that.
Maybe. Matt used to not capitalize I when referring to himself. This one is self-explanatory. Around 2001 to 2003, instead of capitalizing his I's, he would just keep them lowercase. This was just a unique writing style that he had. He eventually stopped around 2004 to 2005, I'm pretty sure. Mdickie.com down throughout 2002. This one is self-explanatory. This is especially evident when you try to look through his website using the Wayback Machine. You'll find gaps in saved snapshots. The reason why this happened was because Matt was experiencing software issues since he was moving to a new computer. This was all resolved in the same year with the website being back up. T breaks to prevent computer from crashing. Since Matt was such a hard fucking worker and had an old ass laptop, it were often
Man, them laptops was not doing Buddy justice.
Cool down, indulging himself with the most British cuisine of all time. T. Is there an alternative for games too? This is talking about an article called Independence Day, which essentially just talks about Matt's philosophy and approach to game development. This specific article compares indie games and indie music in certain aspects, especially comparing it to Nirvana's music. Now, this entry refers to a particular spot in the article that states, "Is there an alternative for games too?" And there's an image of Kurt Cobain next to Matt. I'm positive it meant that if there's an alternative in music, then there must be an alternative for games as well, which is why Matt is the star in this article, since he's an indie dev who's basically not following the norm for game development, just like Nirvana did with their music. Yeah, that's about it. Evolution of the mod page. In the early days, modders focused on simple reskins and minor tweaks to Matt's games with limited support from Matt. The community relied on unofficial tools and forums to create and share their work. By the early 2000s, as the community gained popularity, Matt took notice, and in the mid-2010s, Matt had implemented a separate section on his website showcasing mods that the community made over time, providing download links as well. He would even provide some guidance for modding his games if he asked. He also
he was very cool with modding back then. No, he be tripping about it.
It was strictly for those interested in modding his games and just that. If not, there's legal trouble somewhere in there too. However, he did end up removing the entire mod section of his website because of the big mobile fiasco thing that happened, since it ended up with people stealing his games or just modding them without having to pay for them. Before getting rid of the mod section altogether, he had this to say when clicking on the mod section of the website. Today, Matt still holds a high view in the modding community. He even hires some modders to keep stuff like Steam Workshop working. Anything outside of that, he doesn't support or consent to, since again, it just leads to people stealing his games. Definitely a weird evolution. Games banned in certain parts of the world. According to this tweet Matt posted a while back, some of Matt's games are banned in certain parts of the world. The games at the time that were banned are of course the New Testament, banned in India and Pakistan due to religious intolerance. Hard Times, School Days, and Backwards were also banned later due to similar reasons. The original characters could have looked completely different. So yeah, during Matt's earlier days, he used a bunch of different techniques to create characters and manually as well. He'd grab screenshots of existing characters, distort them beyond recognition, then polish and redesign them into something unique. Over time, he shifted to making characters completely from scratch, which gave his games their distinct style. His character generation wasn't fully random, it was more of a semi-random process to speed things up. When he moved into 3D, some characters had to be generated or based on templates to handle bigger rosters, but he still manually refined them to keep his creative vision intact. The characters that we know and love today could have looked completely different during this time frame with him transitioning over to 3D and whatnot. The Yoga of Jesus, Understanding the Hidden Teachings of the Gospel. The book is a controversial book. Just like every other thing that involves religion, by Paramahansa Yogananda. It explores how all religions connect, focusing on Jesus' teachings and Eastern spiritual practices like yoga. Matt drew inspirations from this for his games, the New Testament, and the Making of a Prophet. Matt making fun of people at his school. Matt will make games making fun of his classmates at school in the form
Dang,
of
for real?
Two examples would be Aslop vs. Margaret and Wussy Lee's House Party. There's more, but I'll go over it later in this iceberg.
Okay, now we in the underwater surface level. Tier 3 fan stuff.
Game request. Yeah, Matt used to take in a lot of requests from the community, including adding new game mechanics, ideas, themes, and even new characters. Matt would take these suggestions into consideration for future incorporation into his games. Matt ultimately dropped this because ideas would of course become repetitive. He even made a joke post about this that will be mentioned later in the video. Matt has a self-set deadline for the completion of his game, so him just taking game requests while developing games was essentially a waste of time, since a lot of his games took a lot of work to make. Honestly, I don't blame him, since people are too demanding, and if a suggestion made by a fan doesn't happen, chances are they'll just end up shitting on him for it. Yamato. This is referring to a fan art made by Kensei War of a Digimon character, Yamato.
Matt used this art during his earlier days. He also made a parody of this character for a future game he had in mind. I'll go over
That's why Yacht
Hard
Massacre.
Time fan pillow.
Dang.
Yeah, so Matt was given a pillow from a fan that is hard time themed. Sometimes you can see it in the background of his videos. That's
I never
actually
knew
pretty
that. That's
awesome
cool.
if you ask me. Wplayer.com. This was an old website that would provide 4, 8, 16 to 34-bit game ROMs, including some of Matt's old PC games. The URL is www.wrestlingplayer.com if you want to have a look for yourself through the Wayback Machine, since the website now isn't available. The Mdickie Emporium. This is just an old modern website. Also, it's the name of the Mdickie store shown in the Mdickie Show and Popcorn.
I remember that.
Or the rest.
I literally asked what is the Mdickie poem in my pop scene video I did a while ago. That's crazy.
This is one of Matt's most popular mods made by the community. It was so well made, in fact, that even Matt promoted this mod before he cut support for modding entirely. This one is cool because it's a complete overhaul of his game Wrestling Empire 2008, also adding actual real wrestlers from WWE. Nazi mod.
What in the world?
One of the reasons why Matt doesn't fuck with the modding community anymore. Yeah, there's a Nazi mod made by people. This mod in particular modifies Hard Time by altering the game with reskins of tattoos and uniforms with swastikas. Also adding offensive imagery as seen here, and offensive characters as well. These particular mods often get taken down relatively quickly by bots or mods on whatever platform they're posted, often leading them into becoming lost. Of course, some stay up. Yeah, this is just some edgy bullshit that people made. Literally, nothing is safe from mods and unhinged people making shit like this. Fan official 2D timeline. The Mdickie community made an official fan 2D timeline, as you can see here. Not gonna lie, I'm not trying to read all that. Touching things. So I think this entry is referring to a fan-made music band formed in 2021 by Lil Slurpy Thang in one of Mdickie's games, that being Pop Scene 2. This whole thing has its own fandom and its own fucking lore, which is actually hilarious if you ask me. It's also funny because its lore is very detailed. It even provides years of events that happen within the band, and the lore even dates to as recent as 2025. One more thing, they even document songs they've released and explain how well their music performs. If you want to read about this yourself, I'll provide a link in the description.
Tier 4 is music.
This is an artist by the name of Von Wolves. They're responsible for making the 3 tracks for Wrestling Empire, those being My Time, the main theme for Wrestling Empire, Warriors,
I haven't heard that song in so long.
the second track in the game, and lastly, Name in the Light, the third track. Sick Logic. This is the band that is responsible for making the iconic Wrestling Revolution main theme song. The song itself is called Broke. Unknown singers. During Matt's early days, almost all the audio you hear in Mdickie's games was compromised by himself. Sometimes though, his audio involves vocals. What this entry is likely referring to is that sometimes the vocals you hear in his music, the vocalist identities were never disclosed. A prime example would be the Hard Time theme singer. So some songs you hear vocals and most likely come from royalty-free audio websites that 90% of the time almost never share credit for who sang the audio, which of course leads to unknown singers. You can hear a lot of the uncredited vocalists in Mdickie's wrestling game. Most of the music that you hear now from Matt is owned by Matt, some aren't however. School Days original theme. So this is the current audio of School Days.
Oh, it didn't used to be that?
And this is the original.
I do remember that. I never realized he changed it.
The original audio was from a BBC choice show called Grange Hill 1990, which was a show about school or something, I guess. The audio was most likely replaced because of copyright reasons, of course.
Yeah.
Our Mageddon. So this is a track in Mdickie's game Wrestling Encore. The music is from Vengeful Blessings.
Stand up for the pledge.
Pledge to our grievance.
They pledge their allegiance to body bags.
To drag.
disrupt the ignited rates of hysteria. And to those who are subject, hate ditches land.
Listening to the song itself, you hear it's a bizarre track. However, it does have a meaning. It's essentially a political hip-hop track aimed towards the Bush administration and includes clips from the Mdickie show. Apparently, this was written for Matt. However, Matt doesn't own this song, interestingly enough. Rolf Otto Rogala. This is an interesting one. Going back to the Unknown Singer's entry, Matt actually samples the vocals from the song called The Music, The Message. The artist's name is Rolf Otto Rogala. He samples a part of the audio to use it in one of the themes in Wrestling Revolution. Take a listen.
I remember this song.
Yeah, this kind of spins back to Unknown Singer since a lot of the vocalists are left uncredited. The Hard Time Singer is a woman. The identity of the singer is still unknown. However, Matt did reveal the singer is a woman. It's just that the vocals are pitched down to fit the aesthetic of the game, which is fucking crazy. I always thought it was some middle-aged black man. Take a listen.
Even the part that said everything is gonna be alright. You told me that was a woman? That's crazy.
Empire Mall.
I would have never knew that.
The website Empire Mall are responsible for making
this mod does look fire right there though.
For Wrestling Empire. This
Might have
website
to
was solely
cop it,
dedicated to
if it's still
mods for
available.
Mdickie games, a very passionate community at the time. They eventually faded out like other Mdickie modding websites. Broke Origins. Matt thought it would be cool to add some professional music to his wrestling game, Sick Logic, a band he discovered from Steve Austin's movie The Stranger. The specific song Matt seemed to like from the movie was called Lifestyles, performed by none other than Sick Logic. Matt liked their music so much that he reached out to them to collaborate on adding their tracks to his upcoming game. Coincidentally, it turned out that Sick Logic were also fans of Matt's work, which worked out great for both sides. They unanimously selected Broke to be the theme song of Wrestling Revolution. Cool, right? School Days graduation music. When you graduate from school in School Days, a copyrighted song will play, Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me, which is interesting since this song is most definitely copyrighted, but that will play.
Now we getting deep waters. Dang, this one is long. Games, features, and facts.
Alternate wrecked modes. Back when people would suggest so much shit to Mdickie, a lot of the suggestions were a whole lot of bullshit, like adding a prison mode, a wrestling mode, or literally making a real life simulator. So, to troll the fans, Matt made this screenshot as an upcoming update to his recent game at the time, Wrecked, just to fuck with the people asking for all of this stuff to be added. Extreme English Wrestling.
People actually thought that was
this
real
was
too.
An underground wrestling promotion that was up around 2001 to early 2002. This particular promotion requested Mdickie to make a game for them, to which Matt followed through and started working with them on the game. Matt did end up finishing the project. The game was called EEW's Total Annihilation. The experience of working with the promotion was, quote, a thankless job that I have no wish to repeat. They imagined they were doing me a favor. The overall experience Matt had with the promotion was negative. This is probably one of the reasons why Matt doesn't like to work with companies. The website for Extreme English Wrestling is completely gone, so you can't visit it today. Trent's Dirty Session. This one is kind of weird. During Matt's early college days, he had roommates, and this particular roommate by the name of Trent brought a girl over and had sex with her. She was really loud in bed. Matt decided to make a joke recreation game about this event, where you mash buttons to make as much noise as possible while the two characters on screen fuck and wake up all the roommates. By the way, I think this is the only gameplay video available provided by the Reddit user, the Sham Woohoo. Mobile games, 15 FPS. During Matt's 2D mobile era and the occasional 3D games, they were all hard stuck at 15 frames per second.
God, I still hate this about these games.
Since, you know, they're 2D, you really can't tell. However, as for his 3D games, it wasn't good at all since you could just tell. It seemed off to be so low frame rate that people thought that they were the problem. An example I can show you is of Weekend Warriors.
Yeah, bro. Like I would love to play Weekend Warriors again. I know a lot of people have been wanting me to play it, but dog, the game is just, once you play Wrestling Empire for years, you cannot, once you go from 60 FPS, you cannot play a game with 15, dog. It's so bad. He honestly needs to remaster or like put out an update or something where it goes 60 or 30 at least.
Yeah, it's that bad. There is a solution, which is to increase the game speed, but it doesn't really do much since it speeds up the animations and overall game.
Right, yeah.
Like the frames
tried that.
There is a Steam thread about people sharing their concerns about the low frame rates. Matt responded, but he seemed confused. He did clarify that the animations are 15 FPS. I guess the game is just meant to be played like that. Evolution of the Empire. There's this CD Matt made back in the day called Evolution of the Empire, which included a compilation of Matt's best games from 2002 to 2004. The CD included 6 games: Sure Shot, Big Bumps, Federation Booker, The Mdickie Show, Wrestling Empire, and Booking Empire. These games were just the standard versions, but the disc did bring some extra content and multiple bonuses. Among the exclusive content, there were some missing links that could lead to secrets and whatnot. Also, the disc would provide higher quality MP3s of audios that were already in the game. The disc was initially listed at $29.99, then it went down to $26.99. You can buy it on the website Cafe Press. The game was available for purchase from 2004 to 2009, making it pretty rare now since if you try to follow the purchase link which leads to Cafe Press, they no longer have the product. Matt literally doesn't make physical copies of his work anymore, so it's definitely rare. Here are a couple fun facts. It said that this CD compilation has the uncensored version of the Mdickie Show, but it's like a free trial or something like that. The main inspirations for the cover art and the compilation CDs are the pose for the cover clones from the Neptunes for Mdickie and Diddy's album We Invented the Remix. Game seizures. Mdickie games are no stranger to glitches in games. This specific entry is just referring to something that happened to a player in Wrestling Empire. At first, everything was normal with the usual introduction of all wrestlers, then all of a sudden the game begins to freak out. Everyone begins to have a seizure.
I seen this. This has happened to me a couple times. It's usually when I play with mods and I do something wrong and I press a certain button. This literally has happened a couple times, bro. It's crazy. I've had it happen in the 2D ones before too. It's so rare to get it to happen, but it is crazy when it does happen because you have to close off the whole entire game.
But you know, it's just your usual Mdickie bug. Looking through this thread, it seems that other players have experienced the same bug. WR3D office window. In Wrestling Revolution,
I hate that this isn't in Wrestling Empire, bro, where you could just throw somebody outside the window and kill them, bro. That used to be so fun.
In 3D, you could throw people out of the window and kill them. Yeah, I remember doing this like one time a long time ago, but I don't know if it's true or not. However, this is not possible in Wrestling Empire. I've tried it, and the most you can do is break the window with other NPCs, but that's about it. They don't fall out. Cowboy game. This is one of Matt's scrap game ideas because of the whole mobile fiasco.
I heard about this. We were supposed to get like a Red Dead
this game,
type
along with other
game.
ideas, got scrapped because of the fallout. Abandoned characters. Since Matt has made so many characters in his dev time, it's inevitable that Matt would abandon or just forget a lot of his least memorable characters. These characters include some of Matt's 2D characters that I don't know the names of, like this short green guy, this lady, and Uncle Drew. Another character that I feel has been forgotten is Scally, since he hasn't appeared in any of the
Scally? Scally's an Empire? Yeah, Scally's an Empire. I don't know if he's in Hard Time 3, but he's in Empire. I know that for sure.
Games Matt has made. Also, there are some 2D lost / unused faces, as you can see. Not gonna lie, they look creepy on their own. Time loop. There's time travel in Mdickie's 2D games, starting from
I still don't know how the time travel works in this game.
Backwards. This is referring to that exactly, since, you know, backwards exists, the present tries to take over the past, because if the zombies of the present fail, the past will continue, then it repeats. If the present wins, well, it repeats again since the future comes back, and so do the zombies. Yeah, it's a whole thing. So it's just a time loop. There's more detailed lore to this, but this was my shitty explanation. Pop Scene 2 almost didn't happen. Matt didn't want to make another remake for another remake of another industry sim, since he's a man of innovation and originality. Matt made an exception for Pop Scene since it deserved another remake one last time, as it was his most popular concept outside of wrestling. After letting the game sit on the sideline for 4 years, he finally decided to develop Pop Scene 2 using the best engine he had at the time, and the rest is history. Wrestling with the truth. In 2004, Michael Jackson was charged with some serious crimes. Initially, in 2003, he was charged with 7 counts of child molestation and 2 counts of administering an intoxicant agent for the purpose of committing a felony. Then in 2004, he got additional charges, which included conspiracy involving child abduction, false imprisonment, and extortion. These charges were related to allegations that he had molested a 13-year-old boy. Michael Jackson pleaded not guilty to all charges and was acquitted on all counts on June 13, 2005. Damn.
That's a lot. I did not know about none of that.
Anyways, why did I?
At least you got acquitted.
Well, Matt decided to make a fucking DLC demo called Wrestling the Truth.
Essentially, you play as Michael Jackson and wrestle your way through.
That's crazy. What?
Wrestling 5 was his biggest critics.
Apparently, this got big enough to stir some headlines to the point where there's a newspaper article about Matt making this game. And
that's crazy.
You see a snippet of the game. Honestly, this is pretty funny if you ask me. Bro's got a good sense of humor. Super Lucky Dream Water. This was an idea Matt had, which is basically a capture the flag type of game with water or something, reading off of the description. As one of several prisoners in a desert camp, you must get to the enemy's small water supply often enough to survive. At the time, him having random ideas, he liked to name them Lucky Dream for some reason, but yeah, that's about it. Rigor Mortis. Another idea Matt had, Tetris with dead bodies, reading off of the description.
I think it's pronounced rigor mortis.
Would have been a version of
yeah,
Tetris
rigor
that
mortis.
replaces the familiar bricks with wriggly shaped dead bodies. Yeah, a lot of these ideas never left the idea stage. PC format Xenon lost source code. PC Format made their own version of a game called Xenon. According to Mdickie, they held a competition to see who would make the best mod for their game.
Whoever made the best mod for their source code would be sent over to the E3 show to show off. Unfortunately, there was a problem with the source code that only Matt could work around, so they unfairly abandoned the competition for everyone.
I couldn't find any evidence of PC Format holding a competition, however. Wrestler Story. This is another idea that Matt had, which he actually would have followed through with. Anyways, the game is about a Japanese person going to the US to seek greater fortune and ending up in the wrestling industry. The MC would have been based off of the Digimon character, Yamato. The concept, however, didn't get completely scrapped since Matt kind of implemented its career mode into his newer gen wrestling games. Ian's Intense Home Wrecking Challenge. Matt said that he could make endless amounts of jokes about his roommates at the time. However, this one was an exception. He had to make it. Ian's Intense Home Wrecking Challenge is about one of his roommates who loved to drink a lot of alcohol and fondle/go for already taken women, which is why the title of the game makes sense. WR3D data loss. Apparently, Matt lost some data when making Wrestling Revolution 3D. I legit couldn't get any more context about this. I asked Matt himself about it, and he said, I don't recall any specific issues with Wrestling Revolution 3D. However, Matt did mention that something like this happened to his 2D games, which got their files corrupted and were almost lost forever if Matt didn't salvage the files. Also, something similar did happen to Mdickie during his early days when entire computers stopped working before he even had the chance to back up his files. This is literally about it. Family Christmas Bart Simpson. In the game Family Christmas, there's a cheat to turn into Bart Simpson by pressing B on the keyboard. Virtual CVG. A demo for the AI Matt developed. It featured sprites walking around. Matt made a game called CVG Strikes Back based on his experience during a computer and video games course. The game features sprites walking around. This likely aligns with this entry. Post-mortem cutscenes in games without pro license. The NPCs, or rather the game, literally kills you for not having the pro license. In the wrestling games, you get fired from your promotion for not having the pro license. I remember this,
bro, and this is one of the things that I hated. Like, it's just not a cool feature to add, bro. It was kind of corny. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that was definitely a pretty corny feature to have in the game.
happening to me when I was a kid playing his 2D games. Matt had this to say when people called it out. Locked door and Empire. In Wrestling Empire, when you roam into the office, there's an alternate exit door that you can't actually use. It's just locked for some reason. However, NPCs can go through it, but that's
I never knew that.
Unreleased features. This one is self-explanatory. Just like every other game, it's inevitable that ideas or features just simply go unreleased. Limb loss. Matt sometimes includes limb loss in his games. The earliest instance that I can think of is in Hard Time, where you would lose a limb randomly during an ass beating. The most bloody instance and most violent gore is in Hard Time 3 when you max out the gore settings.
Yeah, Hard Time 3
is the first
crazy.
game Matt put on mobile. It's kind of a bizarre game where you try to click words on a wheel. If you try and download the game now, you can't because it's very outdated, which I doubt will get an update anytime soon. This game is often regarded as Matt's worst game. Yeah,
Definitely.
I remember playing it as a kid. It was butt. Screw you. Another game idea Matt had where everyone literally drops everything and beats the shit out of each other at any time, because in this world, everyone watches too much wrestling and it becomes the norm. The idea wasn't completely scrapped since the concept of fighting at any time is literally in all of his games that involve combat. Super Dream Footballers. Another idea Matt had about amateur soccer players who travel the world and play against locals and whatnot. I think this eventually evolved into Grassroots. Sure Shot Death from Above. Yes, another idea that Matt had. To add another entry to the Sure Shot series, this time you shoot things in the air into safety, like your fellow soldiers are flying to their death, so you just shoot them into a nearby mountain for some reason. Fuck this, let's play. Yet another unused idea Matt had, similar to Screw You, but this time everyone drops everything to start playing sports with random objects. For example, baseball with a gun and grenades during the war.
Goodness.
No, this isn't the end of his ideas in this section. Time dilation. Time slows down or speeds up in Matt's
Oh my
games.
goodness, what
An
is this
example
clip?
would be in Wrestling Empire, 10 minutes in free roam equals 10 in-game hours. During a match in the arena though, 10 minutes equals 10 in-game minutes. Another example would be in Hard Time 3, where a sentence of 20 days or something like that translates to 10 in-game years, since the kids you have in the game grow relatively fast. Tie-ins. This likely refers to all of Matt's games tying into each other, with recurring characters from previous games appearing in the next game, and the bit of lore the game provides tying them together. A good example I can give is literally backwards, since, you know, the present goes back to the past because of the zombie apocalypse and extra lives. Sometimes the NPCs will randomly give you lore, like in School Days, they'll say something like, "Did you know that our school was a prison before it became a school?" This gave the community the opportunity to come up with the timeline of all of the Mdickie games, since they basically tie into each other somehow. It's confusing
cool
as to how, since there's not much lore in Matt's games, so kudos to them. CS Office. In School Days, the receptionist background is a screenshot of the map office in Counter-Strike. Literally. Rocky
That's
game.
crazy.
Matt
How
made the
did
Rocky
people
game
even figure
as a
that out?
tribute to the Rocky movies. At the time, it was considered the best Blitz game so far. It caught the attention of the small publisher at Digicon. The game was only available for 1 year. Uncensored Mdickie Show. Right, so the Mdickie Show has an uncensored version. Now, this version of the game is considered lost media. Kind of. The community was able to track down some of its contents of the game. People have tried reaching out to Matt to see if he has the files for the game, however, he also lost the files. He even stated that even if he did have them, he wouldn't share them since they're too controversial. The uncensored version of the game is set to have more gore, uncensored dialogue, and uncensored nude characters. Currently, there is one available screenshot of the game itself, which shows a nude character in the
Oh my
Mdickie
goodness.
Show. The Reddit user The Shamwoo posted this screenshot in the Mdickie Rest subreddit. It is believed he has a copy of the uncensored version of the game, but it's unknown if he will provide a copy of it. This person also found
That would be pretty funny to play. I probably wouldn't be able to play it on YouTube.
Feel free to look at it yourself. I'll provide a link to a wiki providing more details about this. The actual first game. Believe it or not, Matt used to make physical games like actual toys type shit. In the late 80s, he made a game called the Pin Visor and Dice Fighting, which is probably his first wrestling style type of game. Then in the late 90s, he made a wrestling card game and a wrestling board game. This just shows how creative and how much of an innovator Matt is. Bret Hart's Revenge. This is Matt's first release game that involved wrestling. It's believed that Hardy Boy Stunts Challenge is his first game, which is incorrect. This can easily be confused since, you know, Hardy Boy Stunt Challenge is what started it all for Matt. Both games were made during the summertime. Lost. Yeah, remember I said the ideas weren't done? Yeah, this is another one. This one revolves around contestants who have been dropped into a random country and they have to try and find their way to whatever country is the goal. Who Wants to Lay Smackdown? This is like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but where you compete in a gauntlet wrestling edition. This game
That sounds like a pretty cool game.
However, Matt thought it was pointless since you don't actually win anything worthwhile. Stalker. This one was inspired by the film Cape Fear, where you play as the father getting stalked. This would have been a horror game, which is interesting since Matt hasn't made any horror games.
Mdickie horror games.
In
That
a
would have
world
been
where
crazy.
people can't commit suicide, they turn to an organization called Suicide Kings that can do it for them, consensually, of course. However, it is no easy task to accomplish since there are do-gooders in this world that are completely against this said organization. Protesters, if you will. They serve as obstacles. The Last Ride.
A racing game using cowboys on horseback instead of
Why did it just go to
like
AI?
Road Rash. The races would be violent, with the outlaws pulling guns on each other. They could be racing for anything, ranging from treasure to land. Basically, it's Mario Kart with guns in the Wild West.
Park Life/Death. This is that one game Super Dream Footballers, but it got renamed to Park Life. This actually was released apparently with freaking updates at the time. Eventually the game died, Matt scrapped the idea, which eventually turned into Grassroots. Red Dwarf.
This game is inspired by a British sitcom called Red Dwarf. The actual game is called Space Bums, a group of retards stranded in space.
Scally's Origin. The character Scally was created for a series of games where he goes through a series of misfortunes. He would be called Poor Scally in these games. These are the games that he would be included in. These games would never come into fruition, however his legacy will live on in the future Mdickie games as an NPC. Yet Massacre's Origins. This is like my third time repeating this, but I might as well. So somewhere back in the day, Matt had a game idea that involved Japan and a fictional teenager. This character is inspired by another character in Digimon named Yamato. This character would be from Japan seeking fortune, so he moves to the United States, in which he ends up in the pro wrestling career somehow. Just him being from Japan and having a different culture and value system from the US would have been an interesting take on wrestling, I guess. I don't know. Okay, so Yat Massacre is literally a parody of Yamato. Cool, right? Apparently everybody thought it was a parody of Goku, but nope. Personally, I had no idea who he was based on and thought he was
I never
an
knew.
original character until now. But yeah, cool since it gives a backstory to Yat Massacre now. Family Christmas was a fan request. Apparently this was a fan request game because at the time, Mdickie community enjoyed lighthearted, festive games that he made. I couldn't find exact evidence of this, so take it with a grain of salt. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Inspired by the show of the same name, but it's religion themed, centered around the 6 major religions. Whack Axe is Bret Hart. Initially, Whack Axe was going to represent Bret Hart. Matt accidentally made Whack Axe by painting his entire torso pink. He calls it a happy accident since he was happy with the results.
Okay, now we in the deep, dark stuff. Personal stuff. Okay.
Matt on homophobia. Contrary to popular belief, Matt is not homophobic. I've never heard of bro ever being this way. There's a quote in his book, Sportuality.
I guess in his games, there's some homophobic stuff, I guess.
There are certain references.
Never thought he was, though.
Homophobic
It's
like
good he's
Matt
not.
Bill. The Rock, Justin Liger, and Bret Hart are Matt's favorite wrestlers. These are Matt's favorite wrestlers. This is evident since he's made games of The Rock and Bret Hart. I always thought it was only The Rock since he said it explicitly in interviews and whatnot. Super Mario Odyssey saved Matt's career. In 2018, with the whole mobile fiasco thing and a loss of passion for game development, Matt was completely set on retiring from game development with zero intentions of coming back. In 2019, Matt had more time in his hands to play video games for entertainment for the first time. He found himself playing Super Mario Odyssey on an airplane, and it reignited his passion for video games himself, which then reignited his passion for game development. This also inspired Matt to develop a game for the Switch. Kudos to him. MD logo will stay the same. Well, this one is self-explanatory. Mdickie's logo is way too iconic now for any change. I like the design of the logo personally. It fits perfectly with Matt and his unique game development style. South Ford Student Direct. In March of 2003, Matt's university essentially made a newspaper about Matt and his game development at the time. This is the first time news was written about Matt and his games. In the said newspaper, it even features one of Matt's games, Rocky. Tower House, Lucy Tower Street, Lincoln L1 1XW. This is an address in the UK. It's a financial consultant office. It's where Mdickie registered his business as a company under Mdickie Limited. That is where essentially Matt Dickie is at, if you get me. This doesn't literally mean he has an office there at that location. It's more of a virtual office. You can find him mentioning that address multiple times on his website before it became barren. Develop Magazine. This is the magazine that was shown in the prior entry of the Iceberg. Go back to this timestamp for the details. If I explain this, it'll just be me repeating myself. MAT 28650000.
What does
The
that
reason why
mean?
Matt doesn't spell his name with 2 T's is because arcade machines only accepted 3-letter names. The number next to it is his score. Stuart Dickey. This is Matt's only relative that he's publicized. That is his brother, by the way. He is mentioned in his book Sportuality and is a manager in Reach. He hasn't appeared in any other games since. In a way, Matt made a parody of his brother. Maybe. Matt pays respect to Americans after 9/11. Matt had this to say to the American people after 9/11. I'm not reading on it.
Well, you may have noticed that I've temporarily Americanized my logo as a mark of respect. I may be British, but it's common knowledge that at least 80% of my audience is American, so I felt I should address it in some way. Being a huge wrestling fan for the past 10 years, whose only heroes are American, I have developed a lot of admiration and respect for the country. It has long been my intention to move to America, and fortunately my career in video games is proving to be the perfect excuse to do that.
Did he ever move to America?
When that time comes, I will have the honor of living in an America that has overcome this tragedy and grown stronger still.
This is the first time I've heard a Brit respect and admire the US. Inspiration for
Literally.
the interactive generation. This is a book Matt wrote in November of 2009. It's about Matt and his journey in game development. How he went from a kid dreaming about this job to an adult living it. Matt writes about his experiences and whatnot that shaped him to be the person he is today. Almost like an autobiography. Maybe it is. Adrian Gibbons. This was a British man who unexpectedly died at the age of 63.
Isn't he in School Days?
He was a teacher at Sir John Nethorpe. What in the British is that name for a school? He was a fine footballer, a family man, lover of quizzes, and a very nice chap. There's a tribute to this man in Mdickie's
I remember seeing that.
I'm not too sure who this man was to Matt, but I'm pretty sure he was a late teacher or mentor of Matt, which explains the tribute in his game. A fear is the ignorance of atheism. This is another book Mdickie wrote about the ignorance of atheism. He argues against the belief of atheism. As the book states, he argues that atheism is just a fear of religion. There is more to this, but the title of the book is self-explanatory. Salford University. The university Matt went to. 6 Lambert Road, Grimsby. This is an old address where Matt used to live. People found it for some reason when he started to become
How did they do that, bro?
He, of course, doesn't live there anymore. Matt Dickie name change. Matt changed his name from Matthew James Dickie to Matthew Joseph James. Now, this is evident from public business documents. Apparently he was asked about this and he denied any name change. This was likely only done for his business as an alias.
Oh, there's another level. The abyss. Theories. Okay, so this is just
Legends recycle dead people. Wrestler Factory. This is
oh yeah, didn't I just do? I reacted to Player One about this, right?
Sells the dead wrestlers to Legends to recycle and make new wrestlers. Usually, the contract for these wrestlers is 0 weeks since it's a one-time payment and it goes straight to the promotion. When there's a new wrestler, it's often shortly after one dies, and it's an amalgamation of random wrestlers randomly becoming popular.
Oh my gosh, it is.
Sometimes the game will say that Legends contracted a dead wrestler for -1 week. This is how the game repopulates itself with more NPCs, but this is just a theory. A game theory. Everybody is depressed. When you play an Mdickie game that involves sanity, you can see how easily the character goes apeshit and starts attacking people. Why does this happen so easily? Well, because everyone is depressed or something, and they decide to beat everyone's ass. We are all programmed to kill. What happens when we lose our minds? All of the Mdickie games are literally about dropping everything and fighting each other. Essentially, every single NPC is programmed to kill each other. The only time this instinct doesn't control the NPC is when the player is controlling the character. When it does happen, it's when the character loses its sanity and starts attacking everyone. This theory also suggests that there is no free will unless controlled by the player. The crowd can't see the matches. The crowds in Mdickie's 3D wrestling games are all 2D sprites. Realistically, if you were a 2D being, you wouldn't be able to see anything in the third dimension. So the 2D sprites in the 3D games literally wouldn't be able to comprehend what they are seeing. But they still cheer though. Mdickieism. It's evident that the Mdickie universe has its own economic system / political ideology. It has its own capitalism, political system, and libertarianism, etc., but in its own unique way. Cloning. A theory that suggests cloning. There are puppeteers in the Mdickie universe that takes the corpse of dead bodies and kind of clone them, making them into random creations that don't correspond to what the NPC is supposed to be. For example, a water superhero throwing fire at you. This of course explains how the game regenerates its characters. The Truman Show in video game form. This one suggests that everything in the Mdickie universe is just some big TV set for entertainment. This makes sense since you see
since how freaking crazy this game can get.
The 2D games are a film franchise. In Hard Time 3 and Old School, if you go into the cinema, you can see the 2D games being played on the big screen as entertainment.
He's right, I never thought about that.
Arcade machines that you can play with. Little do the NPCs of the 3D games know that these movies aren't too far from their reality. Matt's wrestling industry is
so that's crazy because if the 2D, like I said, if the 2Ds are movies, then the 3D world is like what, the game world kind of? But no, cause you can play the 2D games on the arcade too. It's weird, bro.
The theory suggests that Mdickie's wrestling games represent a political allegory where the wrestling industry reflects real-world political systems. The backstage politics, alliances, and rivalries in the game symbolize societal hierarchies and pursuit of power, showcasing deeper social themes beyond just wrestling. Absurdity as a form of realism. The idea behind absurdity as a form of realism is that the over-the-top chaos in the Mdickie games actually mirrors how unpredictable and messy real life can be. Matt once said, "You have to rewire your brain to accept the absurdities I'm going to lay out," which shows that he purposely uses absurdity to make his games feel oddly realistic in their own way. Moral ambiguity. The theory of moral ambiguity in Mdickie's games highlights how players are often faced with choices that lack clear right or wrong answers, reflecting real-life ethical complexities. Games like the New Testament or Hard Time challenge players to navigate difficult scenarios, whether it's using power responsibly or surviving in harsh environments, forcing them to reflect on the consequences of their actions, like getting arrested and then having them cut your fucking limbs off. This ambiguity mirrors the unpredictable nature of morality in the real world. Yeah, I'm the thinker. We have been playing the true life simulator the whole time. People basically want a life simulator, but this won't happen for one reason. Meth games are a metaphor for the life of an outsider in the gaming industry. God is watching, cosmic theory. This one kind of goes back to the Jesus transfiguration thing. The world in the game is an experiment by a godlike figure that puts everyone through challenges. This God could literally just be Matt himself.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it would be.
I'm a huge fan of Mdickie, so yeah. Thanks to
That's
Reddit
the
user
end, bro. Dang.
Thanks again to Reddit user.
All right, man. Holy, that was long, man. That was deep, man. I definitely learned a lot of new stuff, man. Let me guys know if y'all did too, man. Anyways, though, it's been your boy Young Fro. I'm out though. Bad.